What's going on, everyone? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics. In this video here today, we are going to be talking about the first day of this Comiclink auction. So this is one of their auctions where they've got some bigger items, some pretty expensive items, a higher end auction. And on the first few days, that's when you have those biggest items coming up for sale. And I was watching, some of this auction tonight. I had a few different items that I was keeping an eye on. And from my perspective, it seemed like it was on the softer side. But I thought we would go through some of these bigger items, talk about them. I have not priced them out yet, but they just seem like they were on the softer side to me. So I thought it'd be interesting to go through these and see if that's actually true or not. So we've got here on the screen, we've got this auction. You can see here, we've got the big auction that is underway right now. We're going to jump over to the books that sold on this first day. And I don't know exactly. I think this went from the A's down through like around Detective Comics, somewhere around there. So there's lots of other big books still coming up. You're only through the first few letters of the alphabet, but there are some big books. There's some big sales, but to me, they felt like, some of them were definitely on the weaker side. So we're going to start with this Batman #1. So it's a Batman #1. It's a 4.0. Now, it is a slightly brittle page copy, but it is one of these CVA copies, meaning, it's supposed to look good for the grade, that kind of thing. If you watch this channel, you know how I feel about those. I think they're just kind of like, I don't know, call it like a trick to get people to purchase them, because I feel like you can just get that sticker on there for the most part if you just send it in. I mean, it looks like a 4, right? Like it looks nice, but it looks like a 4. And so, but regardless of my opinion on the CVA stickers, it's a 4.0, sold for $185,000, which again, I get it. It's a slightly brittle page copy, but let's jump over to GPA. And we go over to GPA. I got Batman 1 typed in up here. Let's check this one out. Let's see if we'll zoom in just a little bit here, get things a little bigger. And so if we go down to a 4, the last 4 last year was $288,000. We had a 3.5 this year for $186,000. Let's check out that one just to see if that was maybe like something with page quality as well. This one was off-white, decent looking book, old label, but 186. Generally, the thought is that this book does jump in price once you hit the VG grade, like that 4.0 grade. We had 2.5 at 156, 2.0 at 102. I mean, even at slightly brittle, I was thinking this book was going to be more like a $225,000 book, maybe a little, maybe even a little more than that. And it went for, $185,000. Now, I made a post about this one on Instagram because I often see that books like this, these really big ones, when you feel like they underperform, they often show up for sale very quickly with a dealer out there. Like you'll see them posted on Instagram or someone's wall at a show or something. And a big part of that is because we've talked about before, like Comiclink sales are not on GPA or Go Collect. And so it's, it's a place where you can go and buy books and people can't easily find the purchase price number. And so then you can try to, flip that book if it underperformed. And so like, to me, this felt like an underperforming book, but, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this slightly brittle on it is the, is the problem, but it's felt like an underperforming book to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this one getting flipped in the near future. But that's the first one. All right, let's move on to the next book. Next, we had a 9.2 of Brave and the Bold #28, first appearance of the Justice League. Just an incredible grade for this book. Off-white to white pages. So let's look that one up. So Brave and the Bold 28, like this again, like this just, I don't know, this one felt soft. We had a huge sale for like a 9.8 this year, I think it was this year or last year. 810,000. Oh, it's 9.6. Sorry. Yeah, 9.6. I think that's the top of census, 810,000. And then if we, we jump back to this one went for $106,111. And so if we look at a 9.2, it went for $120,000 back in 2013. It's 12 years and it went for less. Now, I mean, this is a book that obviously it doesn't sell very often in these grades. Like last 8.5 was 3 years ago. Last 9.0 was 5 years ago. Last 9.2 was 12 years ago. 9.4 was 21 years ago. And we finally had a 9.6, which I don't know if it had ever sold. It had never sold publicly before. So these don't come up often, but to have it go down in that 12-year window is not great. And like, to me, like, even though I know like the height of the Justice League books was definitely during the Zack Snyder movies, like those, that helped the values on those books for sure. But to be down from 12 years ago is not great. So like, again, that one felt pretty weak to me. Like, just like, or maybe someone got a great deal. I don't know, but it just felt weak. All right, let's move on, to Amazing Fantasy 15. First appearance of Spider-Man, a 5.0. Pretty nice looking copy. I mean, there's like no Marvel chipping on this one. There's a little chipping on the bottom, but that's usually not where you have Marvel chipping. I think that's just like a missing piece there. The spine looks like there's maybe like a little bit of like fraying on the spine, but this is a solid looking 5.0. Let's take a look at the back. Yeah, I mean, like, this is a solid looking book. I'm guessing the main reason for the grade is spine damage, just what you can kind of tell up here. But yeah, good looking book, nice colors, and again, like, no chipping on that right edge. But let's look up Amazing Fantasy 15. Amazing Fantasy 15. So this one went for 48,000. That might be a decent sale. That one actually might be a decent sale. But let's see, because this one's gotten down a little below that $10,000 a point value. So this one might be okay. Yeah, so the 90-day average, 43,800. The 12-month average, 43,478. Last sale, 45,600. So this one actually did pretty well. The high for the year, and getting even above the 2020 prices. So this feels like this was actually a pretty solid sale, and a big part of that may be the fact that it looks so nice for a 5. Like with the right edge, top edge, everything, like no big creases, anything like that. It is a good looking 5, and that probably played a pretty big role in how well this one did. But hey, first book here that I feel like actually had a pretty solid sale, overperformed compared to what I would expect. All right, let's move on. Now we have Amazing Spider-Man 31, first appearance of Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn in a 9.8. See, only 5 in that grade. That is a incredible book, and it looks nice. I mean, look at this thing. Like, this is a nice looking book. Maybe there's like a spine tick. Like, that is a good looking book, and just graded. It starts serial number the 4.5, so probably graded within the last year or so. So let's jump to Amazing Spider-Man number 31. So Amazing Spider-Man number 31 and a 9.8. I'm pretty sure this is a big drop. Let's see though. Yeah. So now, granted, September 2021, that is a peak comic boom price. So 96,000 had never sold before. Let's look at some other grades though, just to get an idea, I guess. So let's look at like a 9.2. We've had a recent sale, 2,700. During the comic boom, hit 7,200 in 2021, 6,200. Average this year is 33, so about cut in half. So if you cut this in half, that's 48,000. That's probably what I would have estimated, roughly, maybe 48 to maybe on the high end 60. And this one went for 47,555. So the reality is, in terms of the correction that you might expect for this book, given that it hasn't sold since the comic boom, 48 isn't bad. Generally, what I've seen is that you don't have like those massive corrections all at once. Like, a lot of times people think they're getting a deal at like 60 or 70, and it just takes a few sales for it to drop down. So I'm surprised it dropped that quick. But 48 to me seems like that's probably pretty reasonable market for this book. So I think that's a reasonable pickup. And I'd say like that's around what I might have expected it to go for, based on, just looking at one other grade, on how that one other grade has dropped. We could look at another one. Let's look at an 8.0. I mean, an 8.0 has dropped even more. But if you look at 2021, about in half. 22, it had a little higher sale in 2022, but if we're going year to year, 2021 was a peak of 2,200. It's now down around 1,000 to 1,200, so about half. So, I mean, that seems like a reasonable estimate for this book. So, you got another one, not too bad. I mean, Spider-Man's doing okay. All right, now this one I know did well, because I absolutely was following this book because I have a 9.0 in my PC. And so this is Black Cat Mystery, number 50, River City Pedigree. And 9.0, off-white to white pages, beautiful book. And so this one I know was a strong sale. in my opinion. And now, granted, it hasn't sold for a couple years in grade, so that's why it's always tough to make that estimate. But I was definitely watching this one because I wanted to get an idea, where this one might go. And so we've got the River City sold back in 2019 for $18,400, and you can see now it sold for $47,255. So almost tripled in the 6 years there. There was a file copy. This is not mine. I don't think it's the same one. But that sold in 2023 for $32,960. We had a 9.4 that sold for $55 earlier this year. So, I mean, I was thinking somewhere maybe around like 38, and it went for 47. So me personally, I'm super happy with that. I love seeing, it's always fun to see books that you own have big sales. And yeah, so a 9.0, Black Cat 50, definitely, the PCH here at least seemed to be doing pretty well with this one. So yeah, I was very happy to see that sale. Now, this other sale, this one I was watching right at the beginning, so I know this was a weak sale. This is actually the one that caught my attention the most. And so it's Adventure Comics number 40. And I get it. It has the small amount of dry glue and spine, but in terms that's not a purple label. It means it's not doing anything. If it's on this label and it's universal, it's just dried. It's not holding anything together. It may have done something at one point, but it's not today. And that's why they can get blue labels with that. It really, like, for anybody out there, like if you're talking about Golden Age books, like this does not matter. In turn, like I absolutely anticipate seeing this book pop up for sale by a dealer sometime in the near future. It would not surprise me at all because of how low this one went. And it's white pages. Like if I had the cash available, I would have bought this book. I 100% would have bought this book. And so it's $47,000 for a 6.5 first appearance of Sandman. And so if we go up to Adventure number 40 and we take a look at a 6.5. So, I mean, a 5.0 sold for $48,000 this year. A 7.0 sold for $90,000 last year. This 6.5, I would not be surprised if we see this book pop up and someone's asking $70,000 to $75,000 for it, if not a little more. Like that's what I think they could reasonably get for this book. This was a steal, and I expect someone to flip this book because 47 was comical to me, like comically low, like going below a 5, and it's white pages. Crazy, just crazy. And so, yes, this one to me was a massive underperformer. Like, I mean, 20,000 maybe low, like just massive underperformer for this book. But, it is what it is. And that's what it sold for. And it won't get reported on GPA or Go Collect. And so I expect this one to have a big follow-up sale at some point in the near future. It probably won't be reported either. It'll probably be a private sale, but I always like to keep an eye out on like Instagram and live sales and that kind of stuff to see if this stuff pops up, because it often does. All right, let's keep moving. These are tough, like these high grade restored books, because they're worth a fraction of the value, because it's like these types of books like typically can never get back to Universal. Now this is, I think it's an A3. Yeah, so it's a moderate amount, but it's professional. Color touch, pieces added, tear seals, cleaned and reinforced. This one, especially because of the cleaning, likely cannot get back to a Universal. And when it's saying cleaning, it's not meaning like dry cleaning. It's like a chemical cleaning. And it's a beautiful book. I mean, yeah, it's like, it looks all of a 9.6. Very beautiful book. Sold for $45,200. Interestingly enough, less than the 5.0. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, just they sell for a fraction. Like this, the 9.6 of this would be worth, I mean, probably $2.5 million right now. I think it's down. I would say it would go down from what the Universal sold for a few years ago. But I mean, hey, let's go back and let's check this one out. Amazing Fantasy 15, and we'll look at a restored copy. Here's that 3.6 million. But I think that this would have dropped a lot from that sale, that Comic Boom sale, if it sold again today. But let's look up a restored. So restored 9.6, here's an A3, sold in the Comic Boom period for $52.8. And for all I know, it's the same book. Let's take a look. So $52.8, 201. Let's see. It is 201-869-9001. Same book that sold in 2022 for $52.8, sold here for $45.2. Now, from what we have seen for Comic Boom pickups versus what they sell for now, I would call this a huge win. A huge win. Because if you only lost $7,000 or about 12%, 15%, something like that on a book that you bought in 2022, you should be just thanking everything that you got out of it with that. So I would say that was a win, for whoever sold this one, even though they probably lost, but I would say that was a absolute win. Now, maybe they were expecting something like 92, like this one. I don't know, this one has a Stanley autograph. I don't know what type of restoration it was. I don't really want to dig into it. But I mean, based on the fact this is the exact same one that sold here, like I would not be too disappointed if I was the person that was selling that book. I mean, here you can see like a moderate professional 9.2 went for 27.6. So again, like that one's not bad. That one to me is really not a bad sale. So we've had a mix so far, right? Like I feel like the Batman underperformed, Justice League underperformed, the AF-15 and was a strong sales. This ASM 31 was like maybe right in line for what I might expect. Black Cat was a strong sale. Adventure was definitely weak, and this one was about what you could hope for, and maybe even on the strong side. Now let's take a look at Amazing Spider-Man #1 in 8.0 and white pages. So ASM #1, 8.0, white page copy, 40,000. I don't know the pricing on this book all that well off the top of my head, so I don't know if that one is weak or not. It feels a little low. I don't know, for like an 8.0 ASM 1 feels a little low. Let's see. So go down to an 8. Yeah, so last sale this year, 45.6. This is one of those books that has a big gap between like the 7.75 and the 8. You can see like a 7.0 for 19.8, 7.5 for 34.8, and then it jumps up to 45.6 here. And this one went for 40, and it's white pages. So, I mean, yeah, they've continued to drop some, so maybe not too surprising, but the white pages, you would think it would have held up relatively well. Let's see if that 45.6 was also a white page copy, just to check. It was not, so cream to off-white. So to me, like I would call that a little bit of a disappointment, because sometimes, like especially for big books, white pages can add a pretty significant premium, especially when you get into older books, bigger books, that kind of thing. So I would say that one a little bit of a underperformer in my opinion. All right, Captain America Comics #2. Awesome book, 7.5 off-white to white pages. That is a good looking book there. I mean, really like no notable flaws on the cover. It looks like there's like maybe some bug chew or something in the bottom left corner, but that is a good looking copy. So let's take a look. I don't think there were any Cap 1s in this auction. We probably would have seen it already in terms of price. I'm pretty sure there were no Cap 1s in this auction. Sometimes you get a few of them and sometimes you get nothing. All right. Captain America Comics #2, 7.5, sold for 34. Oh, I went to 1. So I was talking about Captain America 1, went to the wrong book. So sold for 34,000 for a 7.5. Here we have a 7.0 for 25.2 and a 7.5 in 2023 for 50. Down 16 grand. I mean, and these aren't books that have really like dropped since that time period. Like that feels weak. Like, that feels weak to me. Now I get it. Like this is a big difference between a 7 and a 7.5 there. But I mean, 2022 going for 36. Like, was this maybe just an outlier? Like maybe the 50,000 creamed off white. Like that's a good looking book too. Yeah. I mean, maybe I wouldn't have expected 50. Like if I'm looking at these numbers, like how I would have assessed this, like this is a big gap up. So I probably would have expected like 45. Like a lot of times I won't say like last sale is the price. I want a confirmation sale. And to me, what this did, this 34, is this more confirmed the value back in 2022 at 36 price, that this is maybe like a $34,000 to $36,000 book. not necessarily a 50. But again, wouldn't really surprise me if I saw somebody that picked this up listing it for like 45 or 50, on the open market afterwards. But looking into this a little bit more, I mean, I feel like maybe the 50 was the outlier, but still, I think 34 seems soft. I would have probably expected maybe somewhere around 45, maybe low 40s, but not 34. So again, this one does feel soft. All right, now this is a book I would have loved to have gotten. Daring Mystery Comics, #1. Schomburg cover. I'm not huge into the pulpy Schomburg covers, but this one, I love the car. Like the car on the cover is so cool. So this is definitely one that I would love to own at some point in my life, and I have never had the chance yet. But Daring Mystery, I've bid on them a couple times. I mean, you can see I bid on this one, but the only reason I bid on this one is because, like, that's why it's red. Comiclink doesn't have the ability to make a watch list. And so this is a want list. It's not the watch list. So they don't have the ability to make a watch list for an auction. So to make your watch list, you have to bid. And so that's why a lot of times what you got to make sure you do with Comiclink auctions is just check them early. So then you can make the bids and you're not going to potentially get stuck like having won a book for like 20 grand because you end up as the top bid when you were making your watch list. So you just got to make sure you watch it early enough or bid early enough that somebody else outbids you. But Daring Mystery, #1. This is a nice grade. I mean, a 7.5, one of the top 3 overall. I mean, just thinking about that, I would have expected more than 29.3, but let's see. So 7.5, yeah, like a 7.0 for 31, a 9.2 for 132, a 4.5 for 12. Yeah, I mean, if going into this, just like looking at it, because like even April 2021, that's like almost pre-comic boom. Like that's like right on the edge. I probably would have expected like 50, 45 to 50. And it wouldn't have surprised me if it went for more than that. So 29, oh man, I feel like maybe I should have tried to bid on that. What is it, off-white page? Just making sure it's not something I'm missing. Because man, yeah, off-white pages, like that is a good looking book. Like the main thing is like some foxing on it. And on, a dark cover like this, like you don't even see that stuff on the front. Yeah, I mean, if I was the seller of that book, I would be disappointed. I would have been disappointed that I got 29 out of that. Like less than the 7 from 4 years ago. Like, yeah, maybe I should have tried for that one. Man, that feels like a steal to me. And the other way to look at that is that feels like a underperforming sale, in my opinion, for Daring Mystery #1. Maybe other people don't like the pulpy covers as much either, but I think that's such a cool cover. All right. I've got Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1. First appearance of the Sinister Six in a 9.4. Crazy grade for that book. A lot of Spider-Man. But I mean, we're in the A's through the D's here. And so it's not a surprise that, you're going to have a lot of Spider-Man books sold, and there's a lot of high grade books. So obviously they're going to get some big numbers. Spider-Man's super popular, of course. But a 9.4 sold for $28,899. Man, I'd say that was a good sale. I mean, look at that. Like 2022 is pretty much near peak comic boom still. It's maybe tapering a bit, but 30,289 in 2022. And then this one going for just under that, just like $1,000 under. I'd say that was a super strong sale. Now, I get it. Like, these don't come up often. Obviously, it's like, look at that. 4 years between those, 3 years between the next one, 4 years there, 2 years there, 5 years there. I mean, they don't come up in this grade. But yeah, I would say that was a very respectable sale for that book. Like, I mean, if you've watched the market since the comic boom period, even high dollar stuff, like Amazing Fantasy 15, you had copies that were selling for 500 grand, now going for 250, stuff like that. Like, there were big drops even in big books that don't come up for sale often. So if you see a book that held its value like that, that is unusual. So that's a really respectable sale. Because I mean, let's look at just like an 8.5. I mean, look at this, like 13 grand down to 4,500. It's back down to below what it was in 2019 in an 8.5. So I mean, for this book in a 9.4 to hold that well is impressive. All right, Captain America number 37. One of the cooler Schomburg covers from the Captain America run. You got Bucky with the flamethrower, Cap dropping this bomb. I mean, just awesome, awesome cover. It's American flag cover. So let's check out Captain America. I did look up this one because I was talking with someone else in Instagram about this one. So I have seen this one. I think this was a little soft. So this was a 9.0 for 25,000. So yeah, so we had a 9.0 for 27 in 2024. So down a little bit from there. Obviously, quite a bit down from this 8.5. And yeah, I mean, it's a little weak, but not much. I mean, you're under 10%. It's not too bad. It's off-white pages. I mean, it's a good-looking book. I would say, like, this is a little bit of an underperformer. I would have probably expected it to go somewhere around 27, maybe even 30. So I would say it was a little on the soft side, but not terrible. All right. More Spider-Man. All right, so Amazing Spider-Man number 9 and 9.6. First Electro. 9.6. Wow, 23,289. So Amazing Spider-Man number 9. 9.6. Yeah, just, I mean, that's one of the things I enjoy about these types of auctions. You just get to see some of these just ridiculous books. So 9.6, last sale 14,000 in 2017. You can't really use that as a reference point. We had a 9.8 last year for 126, a 9.4 last year for 18.6. Let's see if a 9.4 sold in 2017. Pretty close. So it was about 9,000 going up to about 17,000. So that's not quite double, maybe like 80%. That would put this one here at maybe like 25,000. And it went for 23,289. So I'd say, I mean, that's pretty well in line. I'd say pretty well in line with what you might expect based on just, checking one other grade that had, similar movements. So not a bad sale. All right, now this one, I definitely was interested in this if it went, low enough, but I just, I couldn't justify spending this much on it. I love these really rare modern variants. And this is definitely one of them. So this is the Delato variant. It's a 1 in 100. Amazing Spider-Man, 667. Super cool cover. Very, very expensive book. Like before Ultimate Fallout 4, the Jurjevic came out, like this was the kind of like the ghost grail book for the modern age. And it has reclaimed that throne from the Jurjevic variant. Like we saw, like we had 9.8 of that UF4. Now going for around 8,000 to 9,000. The last sale 7,800. There is one in this auction. I think it's sitting around like 65 right now. And this going for 21,069. But it is falling. So I can't say that it's like it's not correcting back as well, because this one also got up around 40,000. I think 43,200. I think it matched the Ultimate Fallout 4 book. It was very close. But let's see. So we've got the Delato book. Last sale 28.8 earlier this year. Yeah, 43,200. So it matched the UF4. But you can see the difference is it's had a lot less sales since then. And it's just because there's a lot less of this book out there. The Ultimate Fallout 4 book, it's had a lot more get added to the census. This one is a more rare book. It doesn't mean it won't continue to correct. But you can see before the comic boom, this was still a $15,000 to $20,000 book. Before the comic boom, the Jurjevic variant was like a $2,500 book. And so it jumped from 2,500 to 43,000. This jumped from about 15 to 20,000 to 43,000. So it was still a big jump, and you would expect some correction, but it wasn't as outlandish of a jump. And so that's why, again, I wouldn't be surprised if this continues to drop down to get back down to maybe around these 2020 prices, which is close where it's at now. Like this is 21.69. It's right back down around these 2020 prices. So I would expect this one to probably stay around this price. It might correct a little more, but this is around where I'm not surprised to see this book. Again, it's always possible that this stuff corrects more, but this is around where I would expect this book to be today. So a reasonable sale, but you can see it is still kind of like trending down. And the last sale that will at least be on record, though, is 28.8 here on GPA, because this won't get pulled in like any of these. All right, scroll down to a few more. Well, let's talk about all of them. We've got Amazing Spider-Man 129. Let's talk about first appearance of Punisher, 9.8 white pages, solid looking book, a little bit of a miswrap, but not much. It's it's a good looking book. Let's go to Amazing Spider-Man 129. And so this one, I feel like this was a decent sale, 17.5. So go down to a 9.8. Yeah, 90-day average, 16,280. Last sale, 18,000. So, I mean, with the 90-day average, the 12-month average, actually a pretty respectable sale for this book. So 18, 15.6, 13.8, 18. I mean, I probably would have expected it to go around 17, 16.5, and it went for 17.5. So I would say that was a respectable sale for ASM 129, white pages, 9.8, first Punisher. All right, what are we going to close out with? The Lizard. Let's see what see what's on the next page here. We'll find one more. You've been listening to me for long enough. We'll find one more cool book to talk about. Got a Batman 11. Got Amazing Spider-Man 101 and 9.8. We'll talk about that one. It's Morbin time. We want to talk about Avengers in an 8.0. We've done enough Spider-Man. Let's do Avengers in an 8.0. Off-white pages. Avengers #1. First appearance of the Avengers team. Solid looking book. Looks like a reasonable 8. It's got some spine wear. Over here, it's got some corner wear, some edge wear. Yeah. Respectable looking 8. All right. Went for 11,319. This is one that Avengers 1 has held up relatively well. I mean, it's fallen like everything else, but that feels low. 11,000 feels low for an 8. But let's see. I don't know. Maybe I don't check the Silver Age nearly as much as recently, but yeah. So 13.8. So I guess I still know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So 13.8 was the last sale. Only one sale in 2025. Hit a peak of 28.8. Prior to the comic boom, like 14,000. Now, granted, that's when we had the Avengers movies, all the Avengers hype, everything. So it's back down to around 2019 at this price, 11,319 or 11,319. So, I mean, I would not have expected it to go that low. I probably would have expected like 12.5 to 13. It was like, you can tell it's still trending down, so I wouldn't have been surprised if it went lower. But it's still like, that was a pretty big gap down, like another $2,500 drop. So again, kind of a, ending on a soft sell, it seems here, but yeah, like you can see, it's still red arrows on this. It has in the lower grades, I feel like leveled out a little bit. Yeah, you can see, but it's still kind of trending down a bit. I think people are going to wait and see what we get with, like Doomsday and all that kind of stuff from Marvel. But yeah, 8.0 going for 11,319. Still a little soft. So, I mean, as you can see, like this is how it is with every auction. There's always going to be strong sales. There's always going to be weak sales. But, going through a number of these bigger books, it still felt like it was on average on the softer side. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily anything on the overall broader market. Again, this is just like I talk about with like the heritage auctions, like the big heritage auctions. These are the expensive books. Books that are $10, $20, $30, $100,000. That isn't the whole market. That is the higher end market. And at least in this auction, felt a little soft. It is also, we're around Christmas, but the heritage auction was also, just like a week ago. And that one felt pretty strong. Maybe people dumped all their money on original art and everything, and on that last Heritage auction. I don't know, but yeah, in my opinion, first day at least felt a little weak, but who knows? May improve in the coming days. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and I will see you on the next one.